I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now everyone with silence for servicemen. Okay, this is the January 8th meeting of the Solid Waste Recycling Commission. My name is Hugh Dolan, I'm the chairman. Tim?
I'm Tim Besler, secretary.
Misty Byer, co-chair.
Michael?
Mike Pasowitz.
And
John Cattell, Assistant Director of Public Works.
we have with us visiting,
Ron Blumenfeld, soon to be a member of this esteemed group.
Ron will be a member officially after the vote of the RTM, right, Ron? Okay, and John?
John Bizarro,
Yeah,
United Home Sanitation.
okay, and
Brad Topar, Big Little Sanitation.
cool, thank you, okay. November 13th meeting, the minutes. Everybody got a copy of them?
Yeah.
You all got it? Any comments? We have a quorum. Mike, any comments on it? November 13th,
No,
a motion?
I would accept the,
Accept the minutes as
Accept the minutes.
prepared.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Okay, election of officers for 2024. We need a chair, vice chair, and secretary.
I would like to suggest that we make a motion to nominate Tim Besler as chair. Need a second.
What's that?
Do we need?
Yeah, we need second,
I'll second it.
okay? Any other motions? We need a vice chair and secretary. The two guys that are here would probably be one or two of them.
well,
Mike, how would you like to be vice chair?
No, thank you.
Mike?
well, I nominate Misty to be vice chair.
Okay,
I'll second it.
okay. We need a secretary for the new term. Tim, you can't do both.
I can't do both. I mean, I'll still take notes, but I
Yeah,
can't.
you can't do both. You do a fine job with that, but you
Who
can't.
else can do it? I mean, Mike can do it, right?
No,
You
thank
either
you.
want to do it, right?
No, I can't. be-
Well, what about Andrew?
Because when I'm working, I can't be
Exactly.
on it. I can't be on it. We can't avoid Andrew. We can't avoid somebody who's not here because they have to accept that.
Oh, so can we hold it to the next meeting?
I don't know if we can.
I believe, well, I
I'm
believe
not
we
sure if we can.
I'm not sure if we can, but perhaps we should, if no one wants to do that, perhaps we should just give these two to the town. Vote on the chair and vice chair, and then perhaps the next meeting was one of the new members would be interested. I mean, we can't do that today, but maybe one of those, maybe either Ellie or Ron would be interested.
Sean, what do you think?
Yep.
Do you have any? Can we?
Vote the two that you
Vote-
have,
vote for the two.
and
Yeah.
you'll fill the other
I think
ones
you have a
when
choice.
when you have it.
Well,
Okay.
frankly, if we were asked to have this done by the end of the month, but frankly, if it had been a snowstorm or something, we'd have to go to the next month anyway. So let's just do it. I guess do what we can. at this point.
Okay, all right.
So,
So let's make a motion that we're going to make a vote on the two and then carry the next one to the next one.
correct.
Okay? I need a motion. I can't make it.
Oh, I make a motion that we,
This is, speak up, I can't hear you.
okay, I make a motion that we vote for the chair and co-chair, Tim Besler for chair, Misty Byer for vice chair.
Okay. So I second it.
You second it. All those in favor? Are you guys,
Aye.
okay. All those opposed? Okay, the motion passes. So congratulations, and
Well, thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you.
And guess what? Your first meeting is tonight.
I know that. I hope I'm prepared. So we.
Can I just say something? I appreciate the time and the effort that you've spent this past year, being diligent in doing the meeting, the minutes,
Well, thank
and
you.
helping Joe. She's been a savior for us, so as you well know, you both well know. So she's done a tremendous job, and I appreciate her. I just want to go on the record that your efforts and her efforts have been tremendous for the committee.
Okay, well, and I want to thank you for your years of service
Yeah.
as chair. And one of the things I thought about whether I was going to accept this or not would be, I work out of my home office, and I
Yeah.
can make all the meetings for
Right.
sure. So that's one of the
Yeah.
reasons I thought it might be good.
That's a whole good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole good.
So good. And I like the work we're doing. I think we're making a lot of progress. So let's see, we'll start with whole business, and John Cattell, if you could report on what's new with your department. And I think there's a lot of news.
All right, so I'll go through some of these items here that you have for the food waste program. Food waste for the month of December was 1.7 tons, which brings a year to date, and that's a fiscal year to date, 6 months of 10.9 tons. Glass, we didn't have any take glass wasn't emptied this month, which is expected. For the year to date, we have 17.4. Glass container usually gets emptied about every 6 weeks or so. And we're averaging almost 3 tons a month. Capital projects. So we completed our lower drains. Went through having to do a kind of a shift with our operations. I thank the haulers for cooperating with us as we had to shut down one compactor at a time while we fixed the lower drains. Once we had the one side fixed, then we switched over to the other. So we were going solid waste in the morning basically, and then late afternoon accepting recycling. So that project has been completed. We're finishing up the installation of the 7 overhead doors. The front 3 are completed and operational. The large 2 where the tip floor is, and the 2 lower doors that are where your compactors empty into the trailers, they're installed. We're just waiting for some motors and contacts and starter buttons.
So the doors are all operational?
No, the front 3 are, the others are installed, and we're just finishing up on some of the electrical works.
Okay.
Exhaust, once these doors are all operational, we have exhaust fans in the roof. There's 2 of them. DPW personnel maintenance have gone through those and have done some PMs and adjustments, and we're pretty much operational with that. The next portion of the finishing up the bond money that we received for some of these major overhauls is the upper tip floor where the MSW is tipped. That concrete, you have some locations where the rebar is showing, and that tip floor needs to be readdressed, and also install some drains that were removed years ago. So that's on the next plan to do list. And I'll take care of that bond money.
Yep.
We have applied for a grant for a shed roof over where the recycling open top trailers will go for the residents. And hopefully we'll find out positive news on that.
Who's that grant through?
I forgot off the top of my head who it is. And that's kind of where we are with operationals.
Can I ask you something? You
Yes,
said the drainage, are there drainage issues now with all this rain we've been having this year?
the drains that we were having a problem with on a lower level, which we were getting involved with the Department of Energy Environmental Protection, was that your compactors would kind of squish through all this juices from the food and
Mhm.
garbage, and the way the ground was sloped, it actually sloped towards the catch basin away from the building.
Mm.
So we redid the concrete pads that the trailers sit on, so it slopes back to the building, into the drains, And those drains then go through an oil water separator tank and then to the waste treatment plant.
Mhm.
So that we're now compliant with deep. And the upper drains, for some reason, they were removed years ago, probably about 6 years ago. I don't know why, but,
Now you have to put them back in.
and that's my goal is to get that reestablished. And that's pretty much for those items, for updates on on the status of the facility itself. The other thing is, if you want to go into transfer station fees or budget, actually, I think last time I've asked for a budget approval. I know I handed out a budget, there's some minor changes to it, but the revenue is still consistently the same that I handed out last month or back in November. I'd like to move forward with a bit of the expense side of it, so then we can get this approved.
Yeah, has there been any changes to it, John?
From what I gave you, let me pull out some. of these. There's some minor changes, and this is pretty close to what. It's out there.
That's the upcoming budget.
So this is for FY 25. I think I do. Yes, I do. 24.
Well, I want to mention, John and I met a month or so ago. We've had, it's been 2 months since our last meeting. We don't meet in December. So, and because we had been talking about the changes were coming up with the tip fees charged to the town of Fairfield by Wheelabrator in Bridgeport, where all of our MSW goes to the trash and energy plant. And the contract is coming up in, well, the contract will be up in June. And the main thing I learned about this from the information that John and the department provided is that we're getting an increase of from $70 a ton tip fee at Wheelabrator to $85.25
Correct.
per ton, effective July 1. And it's the first year of a 5-year contract. And I think every year after that is going to be something like at least a 4% increase.
Correct.
And what that means is that we will have another round numbers, assuming 32,000 tons going to Bridgeport, which is probably it is per year. It's about a $500,000 increase for the town of Fairfield. The other major, and again, from what John and Lisa gave me, the other major piece of information I didn't know, I've only been in the commission for 3 years now. We haven't had an increase in tip fees for the haulers or for the residents coming into the transfer station in, well, basically 9 to 10 years. And it just, so Hugh actually started a subcommittee a couple months ago to talk about, tip fees, what they should be, what we may recommend on this, but I think it's certainly reasonable to, given that we're getting a 22% increase in the tip fees that Fairfield sends to Bridgeport. I think it's reasonable to talk about increasing the fees, the user fees for both haulers and, well, basically it's a $500,000 for the town of Fairfield, whether you pay for it in taxes or whether it's somewhat offset with tip fees. And so I think that's the issue that.
But the item that we're talking about now is the budget approval that they go for, right? We're not talking about the tip fee. That's not in the budget increase, is it?
Well,
That's not in the budget, is it?
No,
No, okay,
they're not the tip fee themselves are not reflected in this budget for the revenue,
right,
For the revenue, but
but the
the
expenses,
expenses.
yeah, that's what we're talking about, expense budget.
so
Expense.
the expenses, because I have to have that in there. The revenue is not. And that depends on where it all goes, and gets approved.
Yeah, and I mean, additional revenue would change the budget the overall budget of the town if the revenue was increased. At this point, there's nothing in the budget to increase the revenue.
So what you have there, the only change from what I handed out on this is there's a part-timer that payroll that there's an extra part-timer which brings that 119,886.
What account?
The second line down on the front page, part-time payroll,
Part-time payroll? That's
it says right,
5/10/30, yeah.
it says right now 119,886. It should be 131,820.
131,000?
Yep, 131,820. That's for part-time office assistant.
So that changes the bottom number by 22,000?
You'll
Yeah.
change that, and plus there's, and because of that, you also have a social security increase also that goes from the 5155 up to 7734.
Is it help, Lisa?
It's an office thing. It comes out of a deal with the internal audit where they want people to audit internally or check the operations as well as aid in invoicing and those items.
Oh, wait a minute, is that a prorata? Is that a prorata fee of the internal auditor?
No, it's
Oh.
not. This is an office staff person.
Okay, so what does that do to line 58,120? To change it to 5,199,000?
It will make it 5,213,648.
5213?
Correct.
Okay,
648, which gives an overall budget of the whole thing of 5.5% increase.
so the 5.2 goes to 5.5?
Well, if I understand the numbers that you gave me, between the budget, the draft budget right now, the 2025 budget is about, the difference between the expenses of it and income is about $1 million versus the 2023 fiscal year actual. Is that about right?
I think so. Let me check one thing. I have a page here, if I find my right one.
Well, I took that and I did, I mean, 23 and 25.
So it's,
Yeah,
I wish I didn't put that on the page. But yeah, before we had a difference of 2.2 million, 2.25 million. almost.
based on the, and based on 32,000 tons, the increase in tip fees in fiscal 24, fiscal 25 will be like $488,000. Or like I said, just round numbers.
Okay, so what are we looking for? We're looking for approval for the 5.213, right? Okay, so we're not talking about tip fees. I just want to make that clear that we're not
We'll
addressing tip fees.
first get this,
Okay.
that you approve the budget.
Now, what is the change from the actual? So it's 4.49 to 5.2? That's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah,
I'm
current,
sorry.
well, that's actual, you gotta go from the original budget of 4940.
Okay.
That's what the current budget is.
But it's really the projection, right? 4,940,000.
That's a projection.
That's
And the reason why that's a projection, that it's at that, well, that will go through the whole thing, correct? The 4940.
says the 273,000 increase,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Is that what you saw? $273,000 increase?
Okay, yes, I see. that.
So the one that I handed out to you before, last month, a few months ago, was $5,197,000.
Right, yes, that's what I have.
That's what I handed out.
Right. Well, yeah, I have, yeah, I have the, okay, and I have it under expenses, but yeah, I have the 4.94 going to 5.197.
And then because of the extra.
Yeah, because of the
person,
199, okay, gotcha.
it then goes up.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
How do you get from the 2024 original budget to the 2024 revised budget? How does that work if there were a change? What's the,
the change would be a
Process.
carryover. Basically, if we had a purchase order for something to be done and it wasn't completed by the close of that date, they still can't, but that work has been already authorized to get done, we just haven't paid it yet. So therefore, they keep that purchase order open, and that affects the revised budget afterwards.
I see, thank you.
If I can, Ron, John, can you just talk about? Hey, is that okay?
Sure.
John, can you just address the changes, the total fees, the professional fees that went from 3.4 to 3.7? That's a major portion of it. And then the
Okay, well, we'll-
contracted property services that went from 873 to 987.
Okay.
That's about,
those are the
$400,000.
big chunks. So so there's two big items in this thing. One is fees and professional services. And the fees are related to your tip fees, because they go up.
That's what we pay out.
That's what
That's
I'm
what the town
paying.
pays out.
I'm paying to Wheelabrator and to Oak Ridge. We pay for our recycling, but we don't charge for recycling. So that's another big issue. And your recycling is actually more expensive than your solid waste. Costs more to get rid of recycling than it does to get rid of garbage.
Hmm.
Just to enlighten. So we were normally budgeting for 33,000 tons a year in MSW, municipal solid waste. That goes to Wheelabrator and gets burned. I reduced that to 31,000 tons because one of the holes is dealing directly with Wheelabrator, and they're not bringing it through our transfer station, they're taking it directly to. I'm calculating about 2,000 tons of that currently, so therefore I dropped my values for that. That helped offset the fact that that actual tip fee next year is going up 22%. So that 2,000 ton drop, plus that's a little bit of the 22% tip fee that for the other 31,000 tons that will be going up. That's your contracted services. Recycling, budget about $100 a ton. It goes up and down every quarter. It's been up as high as 99. It's been down to 88 right now, I think. Thereabouts.
And what's the next schedule?
It's supposed to come out for this January, for this next quarter. We haven't yet seen what that price change is. And that's market driven. Market driven and contamination driven. Currently, almost 50% of their recycling goes back down to the Wheelabrator plant and gets burned. So everybody sorts it out. They take it up to Oak Ridge. They look at it. If you had a bag full of recycling material and you threw the plastic bag with all the recycling in it, they look at that. It's a plastic bag full, and the whole thing is garbage.
When you say the whole thing.
The whole bag.
Or the whole?
The whole bag.
it's now spoiled.
And then there's also moisture issues too, especially when you get on this wet season, wet past month. If it's too wet, then it's considered MSW garbage. So we've been on a vigorous campaign of trying to basically clean the stream of our recycling.
Yeah.
Then we'll continue with that. That's your fees and pros. Those is what affects that. Your contracted services, is your hauler. I mean, that's Enviro currently who operates our transfer station. It's a third-party vendor, and they have escalations on it. They also, that contract ends in June 30th. We are currently going to be putting that out for a rebid. So I basically gave it a, I don't know, 3 or 4% increase based on just cost of living, which probably would have been there if they stayed on. Hopefully we get some good prices. The last 5 years ago, when it went out to bid, there was only one vendor who bid on the transfer station operations, which was Enviro, who's always been there. My understanding, a lot of the issues was the condition of the transfer station itself. It was in such poor condition and dilapidated and ignored that nobody else wanted to even get involved in it. And since then, I think I have $450,000 bond that we're doing now. Before that, we had another $250,000 bond for the roof and electrical upgrades and lighting upgrades. So it's $700,000 that we're putting into this thing to fix it up right. So hopefully we'll have some more bidders. And we'll also be going through an exercise of doing a hybrid, taking it in-house, maybe the operations and outsourcing the hauling only. There's different things to look at. So that's why those two contracted property services go up, and that's why fees and pros go up. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Well, John, can you just enlighten me on why is Social Security? The original budget that you guys requested was 7,000, and then they cut it down to 3,400, but now it's back up to 7,000.
Yeah,
Is that just the county?
I think that was, we were down, it went down because we were a shorter person. I don't actually do the Social Security line. I'm just letting you know that changes. The finance department takes care of that. It's kind of like a benefit. So they do their,
Well, the same thing happened on printing. You guys requested 9,000, that was knocked down to 1,600, and now it's back up to 9,000. Is that just internal?
the printing, we would have done. Printing, I get involved in that line.
So the
We kept
9,000,
it to
the
where.
9,000 is a good number, a hard
Yeah.
number, right?
Yep.
So it never should have been 1,600.
No.
That's
1,600, you might be looking at what was
The
spent.
budget, the actual.
Original. Hold on, let me get on. the
But you're
same page.
budgeting 9,000.
We're budgeting
You're
9,000.
budgeting 9,000.
What?
You're budgeting 9,000.
Right. Yeah, it should never have gone down. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are the changes in the budget for the projected to the actual to the new one.
So those are main budget. And I'd like to get approval of the budget.
What's your pleasure?
You're asking for the commission to
Right.
approve the budget. I move that.
You want a motion?
I'd like.
I make a motion that we
Oh,
approve it.
yes, that's right. I can't make. a
You're the
motion.
chairman now.
I'm learning. Okay, you make the motion.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the budget as requested.
Anyone second it? Second?
Second.
We should, just for the record, indicate that the budget we're approving is the expense portion of it.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, yes.
I'm sorry, what'd you say? It's what?
I made a motion that we approve the expense portion of the budget as requested.
Yeah, this is the budget that is dated 1/8. Yes, I
Today.
don't, only today.
Well,
Tonight.
it ran today.
Today's budget with the modification that.
It ran today anyway.
The part-time is 131, 820.
Right.
And the Social Security is up higher also.
All those in favor?
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous?
And just to clarify what you were talking about with that 68, that's what you spent to date.
So what's it?
This
For the-
actual is what's been spent to date.
Right,
That's not the budget number. The
right,
budget
here's a
number-
budget.
The
And-
budget.
And
the
this is the
budget
projection is
right,
what you're
we just-
saying.
We kept it the same. It
Okay,
was
cool.
9,000, the original budget was 9,000. We've only spent 16, 17 so far today.
And you still expect it to be 9,000?
And we're,
Okay, cool.
it gives us money for printing notices and other items that we need to do.
And just to be clear, what we're doing now is recommending that.
This is a recommendation.
Recommendation to the department, you have to get the budget approved by the elected.
Oh, yes.
officials. We're
Yeah,
recommending. In other words, if we had a serious problem with it, then we'd have a discussion, but we think that this budget is what should happen. But the budget will become the budget when it's voted on by the Board of Selectmen and RTM and the Board of Finance.
I can basically go to, it goes through 3 steps. It goes to the Board of Selectmen approval, then it goes through a Board of Finance approval, and then it goes through an RTM approval. So there's 3 approval steps. This way, basically, I can say, yes, my committee has supported the budget. That you are aware of what's going on and knowledgeable.
Okay.
For the last couple of years, I basically went through the process and said, this is what got. So I'm trying to bring you
Yeah.
in earlier.
Where it should be.
Now, if you want to go into tip fees or discussion or anything else.
Can I ask you a question? About NIPS, I don't know if it's not called a NIPS, but is there some substantial increase in that?
I think it's been going the same amount each half a year. We get it.
But it's been going into your budget.
It's been it goes into a designated budget that can be a multi-year. This budget it's not capital. This is a 1-year budget. And you use it for that year.
Mhm.
Then with the miniature alcohol bottles that we get 5 cents, every town gets 5 cents per bottle that's sold in their town. Can basically be used towards any of the cleaning up or recycling or any type of those items. Some towns save it for multiple years and will buy a sweeper. Other towns will use it for programs to get people to clean up the roadside litter. Right now, we're building it up. I may wind up using it for the project for the shed of the recycling so that it doesn't get wet. If I don't get enough in the grant to take care of that. Another thing we were looking at was radiation detectors at the scale house so that we can shut off when you get a contaminated load or basically a hot load.
Have you only had one hot load in the last couple of years?
No, we were going through multiple hot loads.
Oh.
You get them from a lot of your
Medical waste.
medical waste dialysis issues or something like that, treatment, some of your convalescent homes. Whoever's doing it, I think there was a change in
Dentists.
dentists, yeah. There was a change in haulers that I think for one of the locations, and since then it's dropped off, but we were getting couple, 1 or 2 a month. And then what happens when you get that, it goes over to Wheel Grader. It sets off their detectors and they pull the trailer and set it on the side, and then you have to empty it out and go in there and get a Geiger counter and sense what's the hot load, and take that hot load out of it. And set it aside someplace for maybe a month so that the half-life dies down below the contamination level that triggered the detectors. And then you can turn around and get rid of it.
That's
And
expensive.
all that is money.
So
So if we can head it off at, when they go over through the scale and say, wait a second, we're triggering it. There's no sense of you dumping into our trailers. That's now,
would you say it's mostly the commercial loads then?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
yeah, definitely.
Well, that's something that we're looking at. You know, knock on wood, we haven't had one in the past couple of months, so I'm suspecting somebody else is picking up wherever it was mainly coming from. And not taking it to us.
Well, regarding tip fees, what I passed out before the meeting, what I sent around before the meeting was something that it summarized the history of tip fees that was given to me by the department. And found that from July 2005, basically up until about 2014-15, tip fees had been increasing quite a bit, and then nothing has happened in the last 9 or 10 years. Now, I haven't been on the commission long enough to know what exactly happened then, but at this point in time, it seems, I think at least, it seems we should have a discussion about it, increasing it just to partially offset the 22% increase we're having from Wheelabrator. And I recognize that any increase in tip fees, it means that you have to pass it on to your customers, and people coming in, people that are paying $6 in their car now, whatever additional they pay is not gonna make people happy. But I think, as I think about this personally, I think the community, the residents have to understand the big increase we're getting from the tip fee for sending the MSW to the trash and energy plant. And we had a 5-year contract where it stayed pretty steady. Now we're having this big increase that will now be somewhat stable for 5 years, but I think a minimum of 4% a year, right?
Minimum 4%.
Minimum 4%, and depending,
Minimum.
a minimum, and of course, they'll look each year, cost of whatever price index they look at, they'll increase it accordingly. So no surprise that trash and energy is not, the cost of disposing of trash and recycle is not that bad.
And bear in mind, we're getting socked with a 22% increase in our MSW tip fee. When compared to the state overall, we're still like envy at the rate that we're still paying. Most of the state is up over $100 a ton.
Yeah.
Already for a tip fee, and that's because the Hartford plant closed. You have 1 or 2 places that now they're either trucking it out of state or railing it.
Oh,
out
in
of
Alabama.
state. Or the plants that are currently in the state still say, hey, we got you, we're the only game around that can do it. So why are we gonna do it? Because we can raise it. It may not be justified by their expenses, but they can do it because there's no other game. Or the game that they're comparing it to beat, the price they gotta beat is if you truck it out to Pennsylvania or Ohio.
And that's frankly, I every time I hear that, I wonder what happens when those states say, well, no, we're not changing anymore. That's the end of it. Where does the stuff pile up?
Well, it comes down to the fact that people need to know that trash is getting very expensive. And I was out in Seattle, the prices were so incredibly inflated compared to our prices. They're paying 3 times more for their
Who is?
Seattle. I went to a couple of them transfers.
What do they pay?
They were, I have it on my phone, I can look it up, but it was something like, if you go in there to dump, like we pay $6, they're paying like $32. The dumping.
For a carload.
Yeah, for the carload. Individual haulers, it's all municipal, so.
But I mean, does that have any relation to us? We don't want residents paying $30 a carload.
No, of course not, but I'm just saying that our rates are relatively low. If you look at what's going on.
What do they pay in Bridgeport?
Same, they're in the same group.
Huh?
They're in part of our group.
Yeah.
They're part of our 12
So I
towns.
mean, do they pay $6 a carload in Bridgeport?
Oh, no,
No.
they don't charge. It's all in
Right.
their taxes.
It's in their taxes, yeah.
They have municipal garbage.
That's what I think we have to find out what all the
Well,
other
it would-
communities
yeah,
are
it would
doing.
be
We can't
interesting
just
to
go, we're
Well-
pick Chicago and Seattle,
Yeah, no.
And
Florida, we gotta.
that's a really good point, to do the research. We have all these, names and numbers. We can call them and find out what their transfers fees are and compare them.
Well, we should, yeah, and I think realistically, we look around the communities around us, like Westport.
Yeah.
And ones that are not municipally operated, find out what they're paying.
Can we say how many times in a year we collect $6 from somebody?
Oh, yeah, he has the full accounting of it.
Yeah.
He can just take the number. and then
We
divide it.
the $6 generates about $330,000 a year.
Okay.
I mean, I looked at, after meeting with John I ran some numbers, and again, I'm not, just to see what things look like. Round numbers, if we were to increase the fees for residential, commercial haulers and the individual trucks, the CODs that come in, 20% rounded up, it would generate another 575,000. And if we increase the auto fee from 6 to 8, and with residents coming in, you don't go to something like 550 or something. I mean, a lot of it's cash. You'd get another 100,000. Just as an example, it would, doing something like this would offset partially or perhaps offset all of the increase we're getting from Wheeler. But of course, if we do nothing, that just means that's another $500,000 that goes into the Fairfield budget. And frankly, it comes down to I guess it's a political decision. Would you understand taxes go up for a lot of other things? Do you do that, or do you in fact ask users like all of us to increase your fee somewhat? I live in a condominium, and Big Little is our hauler, and I don't know what our condominium, I don't know what our fee is, but it's part of our condominium. And if these would go up, our common fees would go up. I mean, everyone understands that. Individual houses, if they're paying $40 a month now, whatever it is, it might go to 45 or something. But it's something. I bring it up because it was interesting to me to see that, like for instance, in July 2005, cars paid $3.50, and then going up to July 2015, 10 years later, was $6. That $6 stayed that way for 10 years now.
But but I teach you to know, what's the comparable per ton? What do they pay per ton?
Well,
It's
yeah,
like
well,
$120 a ton.
It's 100, yeah, that's exactly right. It's $6 is $120 per ton.
And they're doing all the work. They're paying $120 a ton and they're doing all the work.
Well, conversely, if someone chooses to bring their own garbage to the transfer station, they get up to, what is it, up to 125 pounds? If they only bring 50 pounds in, they're paying $200. I mean, I don't think people.
I understand.
People will collect their garbage until they can bring it.
Hang on, hold on.
Can I ask you
He's
a
got a point.
Just one quick point. It's something to be considered is that the town or Enviro has to do more work to handle 50 cars bringing in 100 pounds than my one truck that brings in 10 tons in one shot. We pull up, open the gate, 10 tons in the hole, the guy goes, pushes a button on the wall, and it's done.
No,
It takes all
I
day for
understand.
200 cars to come in to bring 3,000, 4,000 pounds. So they should pay a little bit more.
Well,
We're bringing it in bulk.
I had a home in Newtown for 25 years, and there was no way I was gonna put garbage in my passenger car and drive it over. I was very glad to pay once a week to have it picked up, and I think most people in town feel that way. Other people that choose to come down, if I were doing it and chose to bring it down, I'd get it up to 125 pounds before I made the trip.
Right.
I bring my glass down to the glass only recycle. I do it like once every 10 days when it gets big enough, and I'm going downtown anyway.
I think what this all, like from my perspective, what I think this identifies is that we need a comprehensive understanding of why the fees, who gets impacted by them. The greatest percentage of people that come there are seniors, and they're gonna get impacted by it. Number two is what was the impact of the worldwide plastics market on our budget and the income stream to the budget? That money all went for years into the town coffers. Now we're
Right.
complaining,
That's
now we're
right.
complaining that these guys and the residents have to pay for something that the US and China and all the other countries did. All I'm saying is, we gotta look at more global and more comprehensive, rather than saying, well, we haven't socked them, so let's sock them now.
Well,
And I don't think we're in a position to make a decision tonight. I don't
Oh,
think that's.
no,
what-
I'm not
Can I just make a
suggesting-
comment too? I'm trying to- I think you just answered my question, because you said before, where does this income go? Goes into the general fund? It's not affecting this budget, right?
Well,
The current budget, no, that we're in. This probably would not start until July,
So
so.
it's not gonna
It's the
affect
2020
this
the
budget.
2025 budget
It would
starting in July.
affect the revenue.
So that money goes into a general fund for the town, all right? That was my question. One of the things we have to remember too, back when we started making a lot of changes in waste management, was an incentive to get people to do the right thing. And one of the reasons that we always kept the fees low at the transfer station was to incentivize people to do the right thing, right? To not throw away garbage where it should not go. I'm not saying that we shouldn't raise it. I'm just bringing that effect up that it's gonna have also. And you brought up, I was thinking the same thing, to emphasize what he said, every car that goes down there, all the gas fumes, if we get all this environmental stuff, the more people that go down there, it's not even just the waste. And we're not gonna be able to entice people to use haulers, but unless we raise the fees on them.
Right.
But that's the incentive.
So the current incentive was, where the residential hauler for MSW is the cheapest rate right now.
Right.
And next is the commercial hauler. Then it's who's ever bringing it, basically COD or, someone doing jobs or clean outs that they're paying more, as well as people bringing it down themselves. That's been the current thing. If you look at the history, it was going up every other, it would be increasing every year, every other year, up until about 10 years ago when they just stopped increasing it. The tip fee kept going, the tip fee would keep changing. There might have been a drop at one point in time where that's why they didn't have to increase it
There was a drop.
in the tip fee, yeah.
There was a
Yeah,
drop.
but then it's been steadily increasing. Over these past 10 years, it has been going up, and it's been going up at the CPI or 75% of CPI rate. Now you're at a point where not only has it gone up since then, you're jumping 22% right out of the first year. And then it goes
beginning July 1,
July 1.
beginning July 1.
So
Fiscal 2025.
So in fiscal 2025, which is, it'll take that long to get a tip fee approved. Now, I'm not sure of all the processes for getting a tip fee approval. I don't think this board alone has the ultimate say. I'm not sure.
No, I think we'd have to recommend, and you'd have to go into the US, do the same thing you do with anything else. I think so.
I think it would have to go through the board, the RTM and
Yeah.
that also.
And there could be a political decision that, no, we're not gonna do. Does anyone here know why the tip fees haven't gone
Well,
up
he
in
just
10
said-
years?
Why what?
They weren't raised for a long time. He confirmed it.
Yeah.
Which tip
Also-
fee? The car tip, the car tip
You
fee?
can have
Yeah.
that. This is these are the actual tip fees, and you look at the history. And I was surprised that they went up as much as they did for a long time, and it just stopped. It might have been the fact that they were making money on
Right,
this
right.
stuff to
It
China.
was world scrapping, world.
Yeah,
world
and of course,
plastics
what China
project.
was doing is taking it and throwing it in the river over there.
Yeah,
They didn't
exactly.
do anything good with it. But that.
Well, I
they-
think he said a lot of plastic toys back to America. I think he said a lot of plastic
Okay.
junk back,
Yeah, maybe.
but anyway, that's a different issue.
So, in any case, it's the question of, are you gonna continually subsidize? And now we're getting to a point where even if you want to say, okay, the town's taxes takes care of the operational of the transfer station, which is your contractor or the wages that you came in-house, even if you were to say that's the town's providing that, the actual disposal of the material going through there should really be picked up, this is my opinion, by the fees that it costs to get rid of it. If I start turning around, otherwise, what I'm gonna wind up doing is being low and then attracting tonnage from other places
Yeah.
because we're below market.
Oh,
And for every ton now that I
Right.
get, it's costing me that much more.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So that's, you gotta be careful of that faucet.
when you're saying, that's good when you're saying when that money that the income that you make is gonna go into this budget. That's gonna happen.
Into the revenue, it would go into the revenue stream. So the
Revenue
budget
stream
has been
for
an
our
expense.
budget, for the waste budget.
It's the general.
Well, then, yeah, the general fund though is, that means
It's
people
all-
use
It's
it.
all, it's all the general fund. Money comes in.
So that it's not going to take, what you just mentioned, that it's not taking care of the waste. So people are not paying to have their waste removed to help pay the town the fees that they are charged for the waste.
Yeah,
It's
yes,
going
they
into a general fund.
Right.
No,
And then
right,
money's
but
being moved.
I'm missing something. I'm
No,
sorry.
but that's, yeah, that's how all money coming in goes into the quote general fund. It gets accounted though as being a revenue from the transfer station.
Yes, you can see that. You can see that.
Oh,
So,
only
so
on-
now you're comparing the transfer station revenue to the transfer station expenses.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, why can't we change it to where it's used for waste? If it-
It is, it offsets the waste.
I disagree with what you're saying.
It's an accounting issue, what
No,
you're saying.
no, I think we're the same thing. Like what happens is, like our department, the police and fire don't have a lot of revenue. It's an expense, right? Education doesn't have a lot of revenue, it's an expense. The town is required by the state to operate municipal solid waste system. So it's cities like Bridgeport, it's all an expense, there's no revenue. In Fairfield and Westport and many of the small communities, they decided a long time ago to charge for their services to a degree, which were never 100%. But they charged to a degree. So when he says that money that's on the budget, that's on his chart as the tip fees that the residents and these guys pay, that money goes into what you said, the general fund. However, when they figure out the budget of each department, they're saying, okay, solid waste is costing us $5 million a year and it's generating $4 million a year. So our net out-of-pocket cost is $1 million. That million has to be paid by the taxpayers, which is in our tax rate.
Yeah,
So it is paying his department.
Right.
Which is, I think, what
It's
you're saying.
offsetting.
Yeah, this is all itemized as to, this is the money they get from the scales and all that. They account for all this as being paid. If these tip fees go up, this dollar amount will go up. And,
Right, but what does that mean?
well, it just means that
It offsets.
it
the-
offsets.
Does it
the
offset
expense.
taxes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, theoretically, it does.
Yeah.
Let's go back 10 years and we're getting the revenue from the plastic sales.
Hmm.
That money was coming into the department. So John Sullivan didn't have to raise taxes every year because they had plenty of money coming in.
Right.
Now, when that money disappears, he has a choice. Either I raise taxes or I cut services. Well, then you get to screaming, you get the political impact. Oh, I don't want you to cut services. I don't want to raise taxes. Well, then you have to raise fees. Something's got to give. Fees, taxes, or services.
I understand everything you're saying. You're trying to explain to me something that I already
Oh, I'm
understand.
sorry.
I get all that. It's just normally though, the way municipalities do the way you're selling here, that you want to raise these fees so that you could offset the charges for waste costs, but we're really not doing that. We're throwing it into the general fund. And it's getting pushed in there with everything else.
Right,
So,
but it gets attributed back to it. It gets accounted as being part of the transfer.
So then why doesn't it show up there? Why doesn't it show up on this budget?
well,
That's
no,
because this is an expense budget. It will show up on the revenue budget.
this is the revenue, for instance, the scale weighing, it was budgeted 2.56 million, they actually got 2.75 million. So they were ahead of what
Okay.
this
All right.
is, yeah. And I use this to put together some of my summaries to try to better understand this. And like I said, the difference between the budget, the expense budget and the income in 2023 actual, there was a 1.8 million difference. With the 2025 draft budget, it's about a 2.24 million difference. So, and also the only reason I bring this up is that getting more revenue on the income side would help with the deficit. If you
Okay,
would. We're not, there's not a profit-making department, obviously.
Two questions. Can we come up, do you have an analysis that shows the income expenses over the last 10 years? And see what it's been. And then number two, you gotta be on this side because these guys they're raising their hand that you can't see
When you
them.
say the last 10 years, I'm not sure how, going back 10 years is going.
So we can see a trend.
But it's gonna be skewed because of 10 years ago, we had all this money coming in
Well,
from
that's it,
China.
what's it-
And that's irrelevant anymore. That's not happening again. And that's, I've got it already for the last 2 or 3 years and
Right.
4 or 5 years, but
Okay,
the argument.
these guys had questions.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I think we're the only town locally that even has tip fees for the residents.
Have what?
Tip fees for the residents.
Really?
I
No,
mean, Trumbull is in their taxes.
Monroe pays, Easton
Oh.
pays, they're using transfer stations at that location. I'm not sure about Milford if they charge or not too.
Well, yeah, like Trumbull's in the I thought Easton's in the east side in the yeah, Easton, they don't pay for recycling either, because they sub it out. I mean, you guys we're also doing recycling included with your. So it's not, you know what I mean, you are making a little bit of revenue. It's just a point I'm trying to make. It's not all being paid by taxes, which most towns do, but you know what I mean, like. Compared to Lake Trumbull, they sub out their recycling, and if you're a resident, you throw away all your garbage for free. Their haulers don't pay tip fees. You're just paying for their service.
Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, they charge the commercial, I think, in West.
Yeah, commercial, yeah,
You're gonna
obviously, yeah,
charge them to bring it down, but you're not
yeah.
getting a tip fee, so you're not charging.
Wait, so John,
I'm just trying to make a point that, yeah, just try,
No, understood.
yeah, no, that's all, just.
so did you say the haulers still pay a tip fee?
Correct.
So,
For the
so then the
res-
taxpayers are paying it, the
Exactly.
property tax.
And the recycling also, the haulers don't pick up the recycling, they sub
See,
the
that's-
recycling out.
That's the kind of information we need to be able to follow that.
Oh, you've got it. You've got it, yeah. I mean, I try to do this, I try to summarize so I can better understand it myself, but we've got all this information, yeah.
Yeah, I had somewhere, I don't know if I have it handy, but I know we've gone through the exercise of what town charges what.
Oh, yeah, no, I've got all.
Raising tip fees is a tax.
Well, yeah, I mean, anything coming out of your pocket, that's, yeah. it's a service.
That's what I'm saying, and so, you get tired of all these little taxes, put it all with the town.
Well, as
You
an
know, why,
example,
you know, your rate, we're getting, all then it gets hidden into a general fund where the town can take the money and use it whichever way they want. You know,
well, they've got a
Yeah, I
account.
see what you're
put it together, you know.
I mean, it's like,
It's-
it's like we all pay the wastewater treatment plant fees, but that goes to the way, I'm sure that we're not taking care of all their expenses, but we're using it, so we're paying for it.
I think you're trying, like, if you isolated just the profit that they made at the transfer station, they can pay for everything that we wanna do with the transfer station, is what you're maybe you're trying to say, correct?
Yeah, I just, I just don't want to keep raising taxes here, taxes here,
And,
taxes.
and we're not even calling
We
them
have one tax.
taxes.
It is a tax.
And we're not even calling them,
Right,
taxes.
right, that's exactly what.
that's the problem, we're not even calling them
When
taxes.
you raise fees like that, you're taxing your residents without really calling it a tax.
You
That's
pay
just my
for it- you
feeling.
Pay for it one way or the other.
Correct.
You're paying for it either as a user, so the person
Yeah.
who is on a fixed income is only paying what they're using, they go and use the garbage once a month or whatever, that's all they're paying for. Or you put it into taxes and then you're paying, it's all picked up in the taxes, and that person's paying for the extra stuff that other people use. It's a mindset of how you want to do it. Are you gonna pay your way, or are you gonna pay for other people's way also?
And by the way, there is a special fixed income
Right.
fee for people who qualify for that, just like their real estate taxes. What was it, it's like $2.50.
Currently,
instead
it's
of
$2.
$2 instead
And
of
you're allowed.
And that may not
one-
change.
And you're allowed one trip a week.
Oh, okay, yeah. that's
You
easy.
know, you get a little card, it has 52 weeks on it, and each time you go, you get, they punch it.
Okay,
And you have to be on that fixed income and be approved as one of the individuals that are below a certain income for that.
Is that done here at the town?
It's done here in the town,
Yeah.
each year, I think we get it from the assessor's office, a list of who qualifies. And then when people turn around and request it and they're on that list, then they can get that one.
and
card.
there's an income and asset.
Right, that's,
Yeah,
that's what I'm
it's just
saying.
like people
It's
that
not
keep
something
their-
that we just do. It's just where, similar to where people qualify on the heating fuel programs or, low income, fixed income people. It's just a question of, are you paying for what you're getting rid of? Or are you gonna turn around and have everyone just put it onto the increased tax bases and then everybody's paying for that?
Yeah.
It's, so like I say, it's, for someone who goes only once a week or has, lives alone, they don't have that much garbage. I mean, I don't know if you guys have like a large container price and a small container price or once every,
I do.
once every other week or something.
I take care
So
of
you-
seniors and everything.
Yeah, so you have different pay structures, and that's what, by doing that, that's how you charge them for what you actually dispose of. The idea is that, at least cover what your cost of getting rid of it. If you gotta say the transfer station, the town's gonna pick up the cost of the operation of the transfer station, you still have that material coming and going, and right now, we're picking up more and more of that cost, and now that cost is even going up 22%. So it gets to a point where it's even costing us more, the town more to do it than what we're actually receiving to do it, exclusive of all the other ancillary costs.
You want to go to the member application? Oh, you have a question?
Just have one question.
Tim, you're gonna have to sit over here next week.
Oh,
What, okay?
Yeah, I will do that.
On the sheet here, you're listing that the town dump fee for us, the hauler, hasn't changed since 2014. Did what we pay to Wheelwright in that time frame ever change?
Oh, it's been going up.
So it did, so the
This
the
one.
Several
Wheelwright
times.
was raising,
Okay.
and then for some reason, we weren't.
It wasn't being passed on.
So a 22% increase shouldn't be as shocking because it should have been broken out.
That's the thing, it hasn't been going up for the past 10 years.
We were 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right in order every year,
Yeah,
and then we stopped.
Yeah.
But it's not because Wheelwright also stopped.
no, they were going up also, but now they've jumped
No,
up.
they
They were
were-
going up at
Yeah.
the.
Like everybody
at the
else.
CPI,
Like everybody else.
everything else.
Can I ask you a
Okay.
question?
Yes.
Do all you guys have to bring your stuff to Fairfield?
That's a good question.
I thought we did, but then I just
Yeah,
heard that.
Because I thought I heard that some of the people are going elsewhere.
That was my next question.
That's news.
I understand, well, my understanding is the residential is supposed to come here and commercial, I don't know.
Commercial was always different, yes.
Commercial,
always had-
and that's a part where some, the commercial, someone has.
So where does Sacred Heart and Fairfield U, where do they go? Do
Some
they
of
come
it,
here?
some of it does, I think some of the haulers pick it up. I went to Salt Lake.
Because I was at both places this week, and I've been there, quite often. And their cans, into their trash buckets go everything. And I said to one of the guys, I said, one of the guys was picking plastic bottles. I said, oh, what are you doing? I says, you put those in a separate recycling place? He says, no, he says, I take these down to Stratford. I take these down to, oh, I says, why do you do that? He said, because everything goes in here. The only thing that can't go into the trash buckets is cardboard. I never heard that in my life. Everything goes in bottles, cups, plates, everything goes into it. The only thing the institution doesn't want is cardboard. The hot trays, the hot food trays. They don't want that in there.
Well,
Well-
okay,
But they don't come here. They don't dump in Fairfield?
Some of them do.
They do.
We were getting some of them. I don't know if the difference, All American service them or
I really don't know.
Oak Ridge.
Curious. I'm just curious.
There's stuff.
Not me.
Yeah, okay. Tim, do you want to go to the member application?
well, before that, I wanted, under new business, Misty,
Not for wheel.
wanted to bring up the,
Oh, okay, the
The,
hoop sticker.
The up sticker program that, go ahead.
You know, you mentioned that our contamination rates are now 50%, but we're talking about all the towns around us too. I mean,
Yep.
and so, John I think you guys know about this, right? The Oop sticker program. Which, can I just see one of those?
We
printed?
haven't seen the sticker, but we do know.
Who did I give this?
I never sent it to you. Okay.
Here, you can use this.
Okay, so he's got it in color, I don't. The Oop sticker was something John printed almost a year ago.
Yeah, probably
bought that
half a year
back.
ago.
I gave you-
Here,
Yeah,
This
This is what it is.
You guys putting the sticker on the fence and everything.
Oh, yeah, that's the sticker.
It really gets too far, right? You're probably noticing that.
I put a lot of stickers on and I emailed that to every single customer I have, so.
Yeah.
Well, the Oop sticker is a program that's.
what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we talking about?
This is on a new business. You wanted to,
It's not on the agenda.
well,
Under new business.
it's new business.
Okay.
I mean,
Where are we going with this? 'Cause we're gonna have a vote, are we voting on something? Because we have to have all the haulers in if it's gonna be on the agenda.
okay, all right.
We can't just bring up a subject and start
Briefly,
talking about it.
Briefly, just describe what you're, it's part,
It's not a vote.
it's not a vote. We're just.
We
having a
already
discussion.
voted on this.
Wait, what?
This was already
We voted on this.
a long time ago.
Okay.
Yeah. But we're just so you know that what we'd like to do is work with the Sustainable Task Force and come up with an education committee again here in our group that can do some outreach and some support of this program, Oop sticker program, right? And the Oop stickers is going to be administered, like, I think by Lisa.
Yep, she's gonna be going out soon.
Yeah, she did
Not
mention
sure.
So we already have this program in place?
Yes.
Okay, so where are we going with this?
The only thing, I guess we'll move on, but I think from here on, I think we would like to talk about, one of the ways that we can help decrease the amount of solid waste is to have more people recycle and have less contamination. And that's part of the
We need
education.
education.
We need a
We need
continuing
education.
education, and next meeting, we'll really get into that. It'll be in the agenda.
So-
We'll-
Yeah.
We'll have it on the agenda and we'll vote and we'll get the education committee going to work with the Sustainable Task
Because
Force.
we have in this town, 10,000 people that come in every day from the universities. We've had 30,000 people that come in from New York that are now residents of Connecticut, residents of Fairfield.
Yeah.
They have all different kinds of ideas. If you talk to 100 people, I bet you come to an awful lot of opinions as to what's recyclable and what isn't. And that's a problem of education.
Yeah.
We can't, I mean, I don't want to belabor the fact that, and I know they're doing a great job, and I know those guys have a lot of work. They have I don't want to just come up with something, we're going to put more stickers out, put more of this out, and start finding people. Quite honestly, this oops thing, people aren't going to read this. The check mark is plastic bags, styrofoam, hangers, appliances,
Well.
it's not all in the same thing. It gets very difficult. We just want to keep it simple, stupid,
My,
and say, look at, the blue bins are for these kind of items, and the trash bins are for these kind of items.
Yeah.
We got to keep it so that everybody can work together. And I think it's education.
well, we made a lot of progress when we did
That I
this.
liked,
We did,
yes.
that made a lot of progress. I think what we're saying is we gotta keep, again, new people, students, we gotta keep at it. Again, we'll talk about that at
Yeah, we don't
the
need to
next
start
meeting. We need to start. And then, by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, if what's happening at the transfer station, now, when people bring stuff in, that is not acceptable. Lisa stops it right then and there. It's not just, whether they want to or not, they can't put it in if
Right.
it's
And
not
that's,
right.
and
We made a lot of
that's
progress.
education, that's education.
Well,
They won't do it again.
It was a big education. It was also moving the
And
whole setup and traffic flow and
the
having.
traffic
someone-
flow and the cleanliness of the plate.
Having somebody up there watching and telling people,
Right.
no, you can't put that.
I mean,
there."
so they've made the over job by improving the operation down there. And I think that's going a lot. I think that the one that you just showed me, that on your
Oh, yeah,
thing,
that thing, yeah.
that program, I think people wake up and they see it.
Well,
But
We've got this at all our sheds in Woodfield Village.
I would say that a tremendous number of people are not including that in there still, it's certainly in my area, but whatever, we don't.
There's always gonna be a percentage of people that pay attention to numbers.
Lisa
we
said
know
she's
that.
going up there, so.
Okay,
Yeah, she's gonna be going out.
Okay, before I ask for a motion to adjourn, I just want to recognize Ron Blumenfeld for showing up here, and Ellie Fatahi is also, will be a new member, and hopefully you'll be around for the February meeting, so we're very glad we'll have a full commission. I'm looking forward to it. Well, I'm looking forward to working with you. So, is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay.
All in favor? Meeting is adjourned.
Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, hey, John.
And I guess I turn this off.